Hey guys, MGX for Fun here with another commanders and how to build them, this time Glissa the Traitor. So this is a long time coming. It was actually requested in my last video, which was over 3 years ago, and it was requested by Infected Kings, so here it is. So Glissa the Traitor is a legendary zombie elf, and it's a 3/3 for a black, a green, and a green. And it has First Strike and Death Touch. You'll see why Death Touch is important later on, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you may return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. That's the ability that we're going to abuse with this deck, and it involves a lot of artifacts and a lot of things dying. So let's start by talking about the artifacts that we would abuse. So Executioner's Capsule is a 1-drop artifact. It costs 1 black, and you can pay a black and a colorless and sacrifice Executioner's Capsule to destroy target non-black creature. So obviously the whole non-black creature part, it's situational at times, but I still think it's worth including because you can just buy it back and you can play it again. You can destroy a creature, you can get it back with Glissa. You can destroy a creature, get it back with Glissa. Now the only problem is if they're playing all black, it's going to be a dead card. So it's really up to you if you want to include it. And now we're going to talk about another card. Actually, 2 cards. So these 2 cards are really interesting. They're relatively new. I mean, Mirrodin Besieged and New Phyrexia. They're the Wellsprings. They both cost 2, and they both do very, very different things. But the key word here is enters the battlefield or is put into the graveyard. Well, not keyword, keywords. So Ichor Wellspring, when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. When it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you draw a card. And Mycosith Wellspring says, when it enters the battlefield or is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. So both of these cards are really, really good. They give you value when they come in, and they give you value when they die. Spine of Ishsa. Spine of Ishsa is honestly one of my favorite cards ever. So I play this card in my Brea deck, obviously, because it's really, really good. It costs 7, which seems like a lot, but in Commander it's really not. You can get 7 mana pretty quickly, especially in a deck like this. It's only 2 colors. You can afford to put a bunch of mana rocks in it, which is what you'll do. So Spine of Ishsa costs 7, and when it enters the battlefield, you destroy a permanent. Target permanent. So you can destroy anything. You can destroy a land with it. You can do whatever you want. And then it says, when it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. So it comes in, destroys something, and then when it's put into the graveyard, it goes back to your hand so you can play it again. So it's just kind of like a recurring engine where you can just blow up a bunch of their stuff. Mindslaver is a 6-drop artifact that's a legendary. You pay for, tap it, sacrifice it, and you gain control of target player's next turn. And it says you see all the cards that player can see and make all decisions for the player. He or she doesn't lose life because of mana burn. Mana burn doesn't exist anymore, obviously, but this card is just cruel, which is why I put Cruel Slaver in the video to make it kind of funny. But I don't like playing this card. I don't have it in any of my decks, but if I played a Glissa deck, I would, because it's just too good not to include, especially when you can recur it so easily with Glissa's ability. So the last 2 artifacts that we're going to talk about are creatures. So the first one is Sylvok Replica. Now this card on its own is mediocre at best. I mean, you sack it, you pay a green, you sack it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's okay. In Commander it's alright, but there's much better stuff. But with Glissa, again, you can just recur it and abuse it. Use it over and over and over again. And then Solemn. Solemn says, when he comes into play, you search your library for a basic land and put it into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And when he dies, you draw a card. So, you play Solemn, get a basic land, and then he dies and goes to the graveyard. You get to draw a card. And then, one of their creatures dies, and he comes back. It's just an engine that you can abuse over and over and over. So next we're going to talk about synergies. We have 3 cards. We have Wolfhunter's Quiver, Pathway Arrow, and Viridian Longbow. They all essentially do the same thing. Some of them you just have to tap. So they say this creature deals 1 damage to target creature, and a couple of them say to player too, but the creature part is important, because if you look at Glissa, she has Death Touch, and Death Touch just kills anything when Glissa will deal damage, and this equipment says this creature deals damage, therefore it will immediately kill them when you use it, and then obviously you get to return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. So it's just a way to kind of abuse her. So now we're going to talk about some removal. So we have removal in the form of creatures here. We have Fleshbag Marauder and Merciless Executioner. They're exactly the same card, except they're from different sets. They do the exact same thing, exact same power. They're different creature type, obviously. They're both warriors, but they're really good. They're versatile because it's pretty much pay 3 and target an opponent's sacrifice creature. Because it comes in, you can sacrifice itself. So you pay 3 and everybody has to sack a creature at the table. It's really good, and if you have another creature you want to sack, like the Solemn, you don't have to sack these guys and you can hit people with them. So I think they're pretty good inclusion. And then we have 2 non-creature removals that are really good. Putrefy and Hero's Downfall. Putrefy is really good because you can destroy an artifact or a creature and it can't be regenerated. So it pretty much just gets rid of something, unless it has indestructible. And then Hero's Downfall is destroy a creature or a planeswalker, and it's really good. I mean, obviously if they play a planeswalker and they go to activate the ability, you can't Hero's Downfall in response because that's not how the stack works. But you can get rid of it after. Let's say a planeswalker is going to go off next turn. You draw that, it's gone. It's really good. It's also really good to just get rid of creatures to activate Glissa's ability, but it's not as good as the bows are. So now for the most important card in the deck, Crack Clan Ironworks. It's a 4-drop artifact that lets you sack an artifact to add 2 colors to your mana pool. Now remember Solemn Simulacrum, the 2 Wellsprings, and the Spine of Urza? Well, if you sack those, not only do you get mana, but you get to reuse them, and you can use Glissa's ability to bring them back later on, obviously. Though this card is definitely the most important in my opinion because it just lets you get rid of the artifacts that are in play so you can buy them back and play them again without having to do some other kind of weird shenanigans to get it done. And you don't have to rely on other people destroying your stuff. So obviously it's the most important card in the deck. I appreciate you guys watching. Comment below the next one you'd like me to do. Thanks, guys.